clearly end up doing Workshop Wednesday today. Because I want to get through Resident Evil Village. I'm actually really enjoying it. So we're gonna do that. Let's see. All my shit's ready. I can kind of jump into it. Yes. Okay.
Is this?
Before I forget too much. You know. Somehow my fan's trying to rotate. Well, one of my fans. Okay, there. Hello, welcome back. I'm a little bit late, clearly. I kept saying, what, 3 p.m. Central Time? But I definitely got distracted. Needed to get some other stuff done. But I'm excited to keep playing this. Did you end up sleeping? Few hours. Just, a short 3 hours late. It happens, I guess. For me. Gotta make sure I look. Because I just got here. It did save right here, too, so I didn't have to go back. That's good. But... oh yeah, and you guys last night said I need to come back. 5 a.m. now? Dang. Now it's for real good morning for you. Well, it was last night for me too, but... good morning. Oh, crap. I don't know if I should break those bags to see if there's anything in them, so I'm not going to. Yeah, just like being comfy cozy. Trying to get through like a decent chunk of the game tonight. I'll probably be live for, if everything feels chill and comfy and I'm good, like 5 hours. Oh! Motherfucker. Yeah. Literally thought. So from like 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. after that session? A good amount of sleep, 7 hours? Shit. That's all you really need, right? Or was that 8? Okay, no. Tack's bad at math. Hello, Tack. Oh, math. What you didn't see is me pausing to sit here with my controller, and I was having to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, oop. I don't actually want to restart. But, basically, I'm a dummy hating on a fellow dummy. But it's alright. Oh my god! I got scared. I panicked. Oh my god. What did I hear? Oh, goat. Stab. Oh shit, I've not been looking up where goats are, but oh well. Your mother was like fierce, you had to lie. Dang. Well, that's not good. How do I... wonder if I can up... Also... brush rate's good, frame rate... quality... on... Gonna leave all this. Having to lie about not like getting enough sleep, you know? Been there. Been there. Been a while, but been there. Oh my god, or like for a boss when you're tired as fuck because like a new game dropped or something, you played it all night and then you're gonna make up some random shit. What was that? I definitely thought that was about to eat me. No! Oh my god. Okay. You have a headache? Man, that's a good one. I get migraines, so sometimes they'll say like, oh, I got a migraine. Like, hey, if I gotta suffer normally and have that shit, might as well use it for some good. Usually it's a debuff, use it as a buff. Read the day. Jesus. Oh no, I shouldn't have done that because now it's gonna force me forward maybe. Ew. Put lotion on. Gotta. Definitely different. Yeah. Ow. Different dynamics for sure. Now I have. Ooh, I fucked that up. Whoopsies. Well, pretend you didn't see that Stream Elements thing, because... Oh.
There you are.
What's up,
I had a
buddy?
feeling you would pop up here.
It was all worthless.
Is that so? I assume you've picked up something of value.
Not sure if it's a value, but
Why, you have your daughter right in your own hands.
what are you saying?
Take a closer look.
Oh my god.
That flask seems to contain her head.
What's in the tube? What's in the tube?
Roses.
Don't say another word! This is impossible! This just can't be!
Your daughter's essence is still intact. Her powers are truly unique.
Was she a thingy then?
Who could even do this?
She can be saved, you know.
Saved? From this? Are you insane?
There's a house with a red chimney on the western side of the village. Go and seek out the man who lives there. Then we can continue our conversation.
Quit holding out and get to the damn point!
You don't have to trust
Yeah.
my words. But do you have any better options? Your choice. The customer is always right. After all.
Oh my god. I should not have used
Pray
lotion.
if I find out this is a lie.
Ew, why is he laughing?
Fucking Joker.
I mean, you should too, like, if the time changes, like, that's really, you know, that's a lot. It being, what, 4 a.m. or whatever? Yeah, you said it's 4 a.m. That's a lot, too, so, like, I think right now I'm uploading the VODs from the past few streams onto YouTube, but then I'm gonna try to make sure I'm, like, starting the upload before I go to bed, so that, you could also, like, look on there, too, if you, like, miss them because you're sleeping, because damn. And also, like, no pressure. Because holy shit.
Oh, yes.
Although I have, like, a really bad sleep schedule right now, so I can't
Securing goods is more important than anything.
can't really say too much.
Anything, my friend.
That I'm gonna keep big fish, I guess.
Oh, Lady Dimitrescu. Beautiful even in death.
Dimitrescu.
That waistline, yes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I get that.
To hunger
I'm a yapper.
is to be alive.
I yap on other people's chats too. It helps the time go by though, so I appreciate it. Makes it feel a little less awkward. Ooh, I should probably turn my power up for
Leave
that, right?
this to me.
Is important. Rate of fire.
Mhm.
Michael Jackson is good. I literally thought about that earlier. Whenever I was having to go through my I tried to adjust my stream like tech stuff today too. That's what I was doing like a lot of. And I was like going to upload last night's stream to YouTube, and then I was just like, I thought about it's backward, like, or I think it was whenever you said like disgusting Michael Jackson. I fucking like I died again. That's just so funny. Maybe I should do reload speed, or I guess buy. Oops. Ooh, number of slots in my inventory. Wait, I don't have that much money though. Pipe bombs. Magnification scope, cheek rest for the rifle. Reduces sway. Okay, definitely the
God
inventory
created
space.
man's back to carry burdens, but to think you want to pile on even more.
Well, dude, if I try to stream any earlier, like 3 p.m. my normal stream time, that's a weird time frame. But if I end up getting there, if I end up getting to the point where like I have everything uploaded on YouTube pretty current, too, if you want to like comment on there or whatever, or yeah, that feels weird because I don't really care about marketing myself. It's not marketing, but like, you know, I actually will see that.
Food is life.
I am late as fuck today.
Have a wonderful adventure.
I gotta lock in. Ooh, but I also normally do workshop Wednesdays, but I've had issues with my laptop recently. So because there's like Prime Day or whatever, I fucking hate Amazon Prime. Don't care about it. Oh, welcome in. Sarah Phoenix, how are you guys? You playing the same thing? Boo. Don't freaking scare me. I'm already in a scary game. But welcome in. Welcome, welcome. How was your stream? I gotta figure out. I'm not very far into this. Well, I just got out of the mansion. I'm kind of okay. Kind of far. Just played the DLC? Oh shit, nice. You're definitely further than me. Was it your first time playing it? It'll be my first time playing it, so I'm kind of like, ooh. I'd be excited. Good. Usually just kind of keep things pretty chill over here too, so. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for the ready poo. I guess. Oh, there's symbols on the. What the heck? With a four-winged being. But then that feels like that. Oh, it works on that one though. Alright. Let's go in. Have all of you guys played this then too? Your experience been so far? So far, I really like it. I know I stopped playing for a little bit, but it was very easy to get back into. The mansion felt like a maze, and I'm really bad at spatial awareness, and then remembering where the fuck I am. Like, I have no visual memory at all, so the minute that I, like, run out of a room, beats me what was in there, you know? But it's very fun. Oh, and you... Okay. I love it. It's really pretty, too. Like, it looks good. I'm excited for Requiem now, too. I mean, usually I do a workshop Wednesday on Wednesdays, so I would, like, stream top down, and then we work on different workshopping like crafts or projects you've got, or kind of body double. I've built Gundams, I built wooden flowers, I've done watercolor painting workshop Wednesdays. I like to do cleaning and stuff ones. But I was so into this last night that when I woke up this morning, I thought about this. So it's loading every time I need to ruin the game. No, literally. For me, it's bad, so I'm glad you get it, because holy. I felt bad. I think I was telling Sushi last night, who's also in chat. Yeah, FF Plays 24. I was telling them that either I could kind of look up a hint quick to see what general area something was in and then run, or they were about to be like another hour deep and seeing me run around in circles. June 1999. And you slumber for only a short while. 1990. Wait. So this is because they like bring them back, I would assume. Read Michael Jackson last night. Oh yes. I killed Dimistru? I'm learning how to say it. Dimistru? Something like that lady. And they said he looked like evil Michael Jackson. So I was like, oh, yes, that works. Yeah. Dimitriska. Okay, thank you. That actually is really helpful. A way to spell it. Oh, that's... Dude. Dude. I don't know why I keep saying that. We offer these goats of warding to protect the village and its people. Any who break them shall feel Mother Miranda's wrath. Lady D, but I think it's... Demetresk. Lady D is smart. Or by SSD, you got it. Oh, yeah. Well, I have ADHD too. And my ass, I jump between games. So it's really helpful for me. And especially with streaming too. Like I only invested in this PC for making things. And then also I have a camera. I want to do more photography shit. And like camera work. So I definitely needed the storage, but 140 gigabytes? Well, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. It definitely took, it took a lot. It's a big investment, but doing anything on 140 gigabytes is wild. Especially, were you playing Resident Evil on that one? They are really bad right now. I happened to like build my PC right before it skyrocketed, so I got very lucky. Yeah. Ugh. I heard a scream from the house with the chimney. I was going to take a look, but the way was blocked by debris. Going to have to take the long way around. Who would have thought the hole in the stable walls would come in handy? If I'm not back by morning, you should go to Luisa's house alone, Father. 900 gigabytes to a terabyte. Okay. Damn. 550. See, I tried to look up last night. Someone was asking me about, or I think Jordan, who usually comes in chat too for Resident Evil playthroughs. He's pretty chill, but he mentioned his like PC cost Canada dollars. Then I looked mine up, and it like equates the current day price. Prices are wild now. My PC was like $2,400 for me to build it back then. Now it says that it would cost like $4,800 US to make it. Demetresk. Huh, that's cool. That's a really cool name. And yeah, I did like double. Oh, hey Jordan. Speak of the nerd. Oh my god. The window didn't even break. Animal body. What the heck? They're upstairs before I go out. How cute. Nice loom. Like the textures of all the fabrics in this game look great. And the lace and stuff. Dude, if I wouldn't have gotten it done by the price hike, I would have been cooked. There's no way I would have built a PC. I mean, before that, I think the earliest I streamed was like 2020, 2021, and I just had my Xbox. So I was streaming like directly from that. So I would be definitely off cam, and this would be looking a little more cooked. Irish, I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole. Yeah. Oh my god. Well, and when I was streaming from Xbox too, that thing, it never stably like stayed live. And then I would stream sometimes directly from my PlayStation also. I think that was a little more stable, but my Xbox was rough. The listener hurts. Yeah, you gotta keep it alive somehow. Way. Is this from? Oh, you just have to like look at it just right. I even like saw it and didn't process that it was a real thing for a sec. No. People got saw discount on during Prime Day a few months before price hikes. Oh shit, nice. I know, like right after I built mine too, people were having a lot of good luck with pre-builds. And getting them pre-built seems very nice. Like, good time to get. Yeah. Hey, it worked out, cause shit. I know that like everyone who did that, who got their PC figured out right before the price hikes, has to feel like probably how I'm feeling, which is lucky as shit. But it's also like, dang, if anything happens to this piece of machinery, like there's no shot. Aww. Meshing is kind of messing up though. But cute. $1,100. Oh, that's not too bad. I mean, you know, that's still a lot of money, but after seeing, I already looked under there. Huh. After seeing it nowadays, though, that is wild. These days. Oh my god. Like, I don't know if you guys pay any attention to Switch stuff too, but Switch 2 pricing is ridiculous. Like, even games now too. There's no way. If I was a kid right now, no shot I would be playing like any games. Which stinks, because then you become an adult, and like a lot of these franchises that are very successful in companies and corporations that keep earning a lot of money every year and have a high profit margin based on the art and the video games. Like, a lot of people had that passion and stuff form when they're younger. So they're really, these companies and corporations and executives are really cutting off their own, you know, their own income. Kind of ridiculous. I got scared. I thought that was... Ew, is that are those dead baby birds? They are. Dang. Yeah, I love indie games. Oh my god. Like, thank fuck for them, because they definitely carry the gaming industry, for sure. Me, like, I wanted to do Nintendo games here when I was a kid. But you had Blockbuster? Oh shit. Yeah, I didn't live by a Blockbuster, but... Oh, hey, Spaghetti King. And... No, I think, like... I played a lot of... I hear another lantern with loot. I played a lot of games growing up by, like, going to friends' houses, or going, like, when I was in the hospital, to the, like, entertainment room thing. A Steam machine, though, is ridiculous. At that point, you might as well build your own freaking PC. What the hell? Or get a console, but even the console prices and stuff now. And it sucks having to pay for online play and shit with consoles. Where's the thing I'm hearing? Steam machine? Okay, that's a new product where it's a box that's basically just a little compact PC that works directly through Steam. That's going to be sold through Steam. And it's coming out alongside like their Steam controller. And it's going to be like $1,400. And they're really relying on like consumer trust that doesn't exist, because who the fuck trusts Steam as a company to pick out parts and make them a PC for that much money and expect it to not break or have issues? Like, not it. Maybe the Kardashians will be gaming away on that, I guess. Friends' houses too. That's the only way you can play Sega or PlayStation before you got your own money. Yes. But I personally would trust Valve with that, but maybe it's just me. Yeah. I just think it's a tough time to trust any company too. So. Dude, I don't know where I'm at right now. Need to go back into that building, I guess? Or is this only like... Oh, it's locked from the other side. I got scared of that. Can I jump through? Nope. Valve's a pretty reliable and reputable company. True. I don't know. Basically a PC you can't mod, but pretty much all consoles are that now. Yeah. Then I guess it's more like just not seeing the point. Look out the window. Oh, I'm scared. That rate though, it's like you could get a PC and be able to do way more with it, or a laptop even, and then be able to use it for more than just gaming. I know me personally, like, until I was pretty old, I couldn't afford to have just a gaming console kind of thing. Especially just a... Oh, numbers. Oh, fucking god damn it. I hate gaming. I'm quitting. Bye, guys. That just actually spiritually excised the hope and joy from my body out of my freaking ass. That made me so mad. I just tried to look out it so sneaky, thinking it was gonna jump scare me too, because that piece of paper, the picture. I need a fan pointed at me. That just immediately made my freaking body temp go up too. Holy. 748. Is that it? 070408. 070. That just changed to me. 408. Oh my god. $20 Steam game that goes on sale for $5 constantly. Makes you rethink your life and outlook with friendship and grief, or military propaganda for 160. Game prices lately do suck. Honestly, I would have never had a PC if... I think, what was it? I needed to pull from my retirement for a dog's surgery. And then I was like, well, I'm kind of cooked right now. Let me order stuff for PC and then I can stream more dependably. Or like, you know, regularly. I'm scared. That was bad. Oh my god. I'm grateful for places like itch.io. Yeah, and IndieDev, same. We gotta keep supporting them. Definitely my favorite type of game to buy too. Like, I think most of my games that I own are indie developed. I don't know that I have any really big franchises that I'm that tied to. You're like AAA. By cows. I could go back and around. Okay, so I can't. Yes. Did I get what I need for this? Oh, yep. I keep feeling like that dude's gonna come back to life. Scary. I knew it was gonna get me. I need to play more of it. Ooh. I accidentally backed out, backed away. This is very jump scare filled. Holy crap. I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. Be here. I just remembered I needed to craft ammo and heals. Ooh, I'm cracked. A lot of what I've seen on itch.io has been like people playing horror games too, which look really cool. Like really creative games and actually innovative and different. Oh, pig. Love pig. No, I don't want to kill you. Just run away, bro. My reflex was to hit that button, but I was just trying to do like a counter. If I would have killed it, I would have felt so bad. Syringes. Kojima horror game coming out? Ooh. No, I did. Freaking piggy. Thought I had a lockpick. I do not. Okay. What am I hearing? 5 horror. The Night of the Consumers. Sex word because of the fears to fathom. An actual virus because of oh shit. Find the good. Need to do more of that. But I'm like, I want to get through a lot of my backlogs so that I can find more new games to play. Because I get a little guilty feeling. Outside is way more stressful than in the mansion. When it comes to scary. It's so much more quiet. Okay, good to know. Thanks for... What are you hating about it? Are you just not, you know, not your thing right now? Or is there like a specific aspect of it that's frustrating? No, not the ghost. Seems to stream, and so much of it is PSX4 because it was art. Here's to bad that I'm playing on. Damn. Then yeah, that would be really tough. Because you don't want to just be streaming like the same thing repackaged over and over. Be kind of awkward to stream too. What do you even say at that point? Because it doesn't feel good to constantly be like, oh, this feels a lot like this thing. Yeah. Can't go that way. Dead? Probably shouldn't waste those too much on, like, these dudes, but... Whew! I'm all scared. I'm all stressed the fuck out. Oh my god. Come on. Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, silly. I agree. And it works for me for like the first, you know, couple times, but... then it starts to get a little bit old. If they don't introduce new aspects, for sure. You're a homeowner, yep. Wait, I've already been in here. There's no way that was it. Warren. Oh. No, ammo not. Uh-oh. Locked due to missing homeowner. The visuals are both did great. People made videos and went viral, so people just made more and more and more and more. Yeah. That will happen. It is kind of frustrating. Like, a big thing with, like, flip culture, too. Okay, that was my own foot that made that noise. Winged key. Oh. I guess it would make sense that it matches the symbol. The stairs with Jaden Williams. Ooh, let me write that down. Got my little notepad on my desk. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one either. And I love video games, so I definitely want to add that to my backlog. Stairs with Jaden Williams. Okay, cool. Thank you for the rec. You don't know about anything we're talking about yet. Not that guy. His game theory has done irreparable damage to video games and video game discussion. Well, I think wouldn't it just be like any theory though? Technically any theory. Well, not any. They're fucked up, racist, ableist, like shitty theories about everything in life. You know, there's always like bad theory. But I think like good theory shouldn't, it's not really like a detriment. It's more the audience not being encouraged to actually learn the theory and utilize it well. There's a lot of just, I don't know. People feel like they have to have a take on everything or like have to like present as if they understand everything, and it's okay to not know things or to like learn new shit, and it's like actually really fun. Like more what people do with that theory. Learn bait rather than gameplay. True. That is true. I love writing though, so. But I do like not everything being like just you think about it after and come up with your own, you know, your own theory. It is nice to also have some stuff where it's like written to completion and you do get like some answers. But I don't know. I'm a little bit like scared right now. My brain's not working right because I keep catching myself just saying nothing. I'm like starting to say something and then just nothing. Neighbor 2 in the show. When that game show dropped, they were begging Matt for a theory rather than making sure their game didn't have game-breaking bugs. Oh, well, yeah. But that's more like, that's not even really just the developer's fault. It's more the executives, too, for certain companies. And then the overall, like, economy right now in the US especially. There's more incentive to just funnel shit out. So I can agree that there isn't enough care for consumers right now, especially overall. That's why games like Stardew Valley, like I think, I can't remember if it was Sushi last night who asked me like what I thought the best game of all time was, or like one of them, and I listed Stardew Valley, or said Stardew, because it's all of that in mind. I've always also treated it as written like law. Yeah, and Elden Ring. Yeah, but I said Elden Ring for a favorite. I do also think Elden Ring is one of the best games ever made. But there are things I would like to see in it. Too. Just a theory. Yeah. Can't figure out where I'm supposed to go. Like, I think games like... I play Fortnite because I invested big. I like cosmetics in games. Prefer them to be free and not microtransactions. But I love some, like, cute, fun shit in a game. Because I'm of a dummy mindset. Easy to win over, I guess. But I think Fortnite has done a lot of harm to gaming overall, too. And, like, the push to just churn out shit that'll make money. Like in Fortnite, like a pair of fake shoes costs, I don't know, like $10 in real life money, if not 15, like almost more than a literal real pair of shoes you could wear on your feet. Yeah, stuff like ARGs and indie series. Fuck yeah, Fortnite was really the big push in microtransactions. Yeah, that and I mean ESO is so bad with it too though, but I don't know. I feel like ESO is better about having some kind of like a trade-off, I guess, but not really. Like I still think crown crates and crowns are way too expensive. It's ridiculous. To what may concern, due to the Ludier's long absence, I'm keeping hold of this house key. Of his house key. Please find me if you need it. Regards, Joseph Simon. Exactly blame Matt or the new host. Which do is like new game film theory. It's more the community took their words wrong. Yeah. So it's the application of theory. And not enough people like take time. I don't know that I know specifically what you're talking about, so hopefully it's nothing wild, but not enough people take that time in between to like digest and research things. And they just kind of like hear, like consume an idea or a theory, and then it's like immediately like I need to regurgitate it instead of digesting it and, you know, making it into something new or contributing new like ideas, new perspective. But I mean, I don't know. It's tough because people are also like pushed to function that way too. So I don't entirely blame consumers. But also like there is some fault there, right? They do need to take some initiative and do things more intentionally, like social media overall, because it's another thing that we consume through screens. like it does also impact how people want to consume games. Like, I'm running around for these gaps of time where relatively nothing is happening, but there's like game design to make that area purposefully empty, right? Like there's the wind, there's like the little leaves and branches creaking and snapping. You can kind of hear the like crunch of the snow. And then I'm like building suspense, like having that feeling built within me in a scary game. Because next time I find something, it's gonna hit me real hard, right? Well, with social media, that might get seen as boring now. I got scared. Whoopsie. So people might try to rush that or skip over it or just like quit trying, you know? Ooh. Like I know that's probably a hurdle for Elden Ring too, because a lot of it is like you see this really cool new boss. Just to a new boss. You see this really cool new boss or area, and you've tried to go into it for the first time, and you get fucking hammered. You get clapped. You're dead. Someone could be like, oh shit, that sucks. Or you can run back in, grab your... I can't remember what an Elden Ring was, if it was Souls, or like, you know, the juice. You could run back in, grab that, run the fuck back out, and go like farm enemies or explore more, and not really see the big exciting thing yet, or like get through that and beat it, but you can still come back to it, you know? I could see how a lot of people would run up to that and be like, no, I want to do the cool new thing right now. And then if they can't, be like, oh, this game's not for me. And stop trying. And that sucks. Energies have no interaction to them, which defeats the point of an energy. You have codes. In a video game comment section, it doesn't make something its term that throws around a lot too now. Silence is its own instrument. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, shit. Oh. Maybe because of VR. VR is like the ultimate virtual reality. No, I don't think it is. I like literally not get in here. So I must need to find... Oh, the garden. I need to find a garden. But yeah, I mean, that's a thing in writing overall too, right? Like you can have beautiful sentence structure and say things in a very eloquent way. Or, like with poetry especially, like you can just pace the delivery of things. So that, like, what you're saying doesn't have to be some new wild thing that's super thought out and wordy and meaty. You can use like the line breaks to really make shit hit differently. And then it can carry just as much weight as something that was maybe written out that sounds like life-changing, you know? And then more to do with like rhythm. Like the one versus what you're like encountering. And back up here, can I like... I thought that chicken was a baby. I thought it sounded like a baby for a second. But yet it's a poorly rendered slender man behind a tree, or when they would dress their short friend in a big hoodie and call them a gnome. Yeah. That's why, like, someone introduced me not too long ago to, like, slushy gnomes. I think they're both pretty young, or maybe one of them's, like, around the same age as me, around 30, you know? But that's why, like, stuff like that, where it's, like, people going out, utilizing, like, a platform like YouTube or something else, and just, like, playing with their friends in adulthood, because play is such a formative, like, vital part of being a person, or being alive, honestly, for a lot of species. And then showing people how much fun it is, also utilizing the platform though to like profit and be able to have it be like sustainable, because it's just the system we're living in. So like, you know, using what you got, but also that aspect of play and not needing to be the best at everything, but trying new things. Like, it does suck that people are kind of discouraged from doing that now. Because it's like, oh, okay, you're 30, you should be working full-time for an employer, not making, like, experimenting with art. surface value. See, I like stuff like that too, like Bigfoot in fucking San Andreas Forest. Like, that shit's funny. It's recording it. Yeah, exactly. And then investors jump in. That's like what happened with Twitter, too. People just went on there and they shared a lot of important educational information and like solidarity stuff. But then I'm just watching from the shadows. Thank you. But yeah. Used to like finding Bigfoot. Nice. I used to watch growing up a lot of like Animal Planet, what was it, like ASPCA stuff, or like, what was that called? I think it was like ASPCA, and then it would be like the different cities. I always found that really interesting. Discovery. Nail tags, titles, how many times would you cut to keep retention? Yeah, which is like, not, I don't know. I could probably be shoveling like clips and stuff. I'm not a very like I'm not good at pretending, like playing pretend. I'm not good at lying. I'm really uncomfortable with it. Maybe it's an autism thing. Maybe it's just like, I would like to think it's kind of normal too. To not like lying overall, but I don't like the idea of trying to communicate, like create a community and then it being like a money thing and like marketing to try to trick people into engaging and stuff. I'd rather just, it'd be nice if we could all do our own thing and chill and it would be enough, but I don't really like that right now. Forged in Fire, yeah. I really need to watch too. I think it's not Great British Bake Off. It's like the pottery one, the like pottery throwdown show. I really want to watch that. Where am I going? Need to go to follow plot. I need to go to a garden. Graveyard, maybe? Oh, wait, I have that new thing now. Yeah, that's why, like, I get on here and I'm kind of just chilling, playing a game. If people want to yap and chat, that's cool. And I like hearing what other people have to say. Learning about new shit. Hearing about new games or different games than what I've played. Or when people like them. Hearing book racks and stuff. But I'm really not interested in, like, selling myself. And that's been my issue, too, with, like, writing. Because, especially with writing now, like, there are submission fees for, like, everything. So it's just impossible. Like, it feels just impossible. Unless you've got some kind of, like, an in. They're still hanging on pretty well. I've heard that. I thought about getting back on my Tumblr shit recently. Because I miss old school. What the heck? It just had me, like, jump. Oh. I miss old Twitter so much, but it's like, that shit's gone. I haven't gotten on Twitter in a long time. Even though other people within, like, media and stuff to succeed, like, need to use it, I would prefer to not touch that shit. The Tumblr would be funny. Yes, I did like Pawn Stars. I definitely did. And like the like road shows. The vintage road shows. It's already sweaty. Number 14 is just racing. Tumblr hasn't been amazing since the Great Purge. Pinterest is just stolen memes and AI images. Dude, yeah. Pinterest is really hard to navigate now. You can go into your settings though, like I did, and like toggle off a bunch of the AI stuff, but still that's also relying on whoever uploads it to like actually disclose its AI or to rely on an app to actually monitor it that closely with real people. And I'm sure that they're still utilizing AI to try to like catch AI, and then it's just like, what are we doing? Oh, it's like American truckers. Or then there's like the Alaskan truckers or like ice truckers or something like that. Those were cool. I like the crab one, the fishing one, like overall. But then like those ones kind of fuck with me because then I think about like I don't like seeing the animal shit because it's fucked up. But Tumblr still has memes that have lasted the test of time. Like imagine having Touch the Sky still going on. Where on that one picture of Dean Winchester? Oh yeah, as a profile picture. Huh. Yeah. Oh, Deadliest Catch. Yeah. Your scream from the house with the chimney. I was going to take a look, but the way was blocked by debris. Going to have to take the long way around. Who would have thought the hole in the stable walls would have come in handy? If I'm not back by morning, you should go to Louisa's house alone. Father. Okay. And I opened that already, so I'm gonna leave it open. Because otherwise I get caught up reopening it over and over. Oh, not actual shit. I don't know. I can't remember if I watched River Monsters. I watched a shitload of, like, I don't know, Walker, Texas Ranger and shit. Unfortunately. But it was because my parents, like, we had like one TV for a long time until I think I got my own TV like in high school, and it was still like a box one, and I didn't have a hookup to cable in my room, so like I just used a CD player to play music through my TV. And then I think I got a portable DVD player at one point, so I'd like rewatch some DVDs a lot, but yeah, I did not have like that many options, I think, realistically. And then when I had my like laptop or computer, it was usually at the library, so I wasn't really watching stuff on that because you weren't really supposed to with the time limits. It was like 30 minutes at a time. Did I already get everything in here? Nope. Nice. That's funny. Okay. So, through here, go that way, and go back there. The poultry thingy. I'll stop leaning forward like that. It's hurting my back. Hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get back on Tumblr soon. Oh, here we go. I feel I'm about to get jump scared really bad. What's in here? Oh, wait. Did I put that? With Moria? I don't know. I don't think I know what that is. I don't know a lot of shit with online, like, stuff, though. It was definitely not somewhere that had a lot of reliable internet access at all. Unfortunately. And then also my childhood was kind of, like, rough for me personally, so I don't remember, like, a lot. It's kind of not the coolest sounding person when I try to think of shit I remember growing up. But then sometimes people randomly say shit and it reminds me. Kind of annoying. Yeah, I was gonna say, I was just like, I made a mental note to look it up. Okay, so I really do have to go to wherever this garden is. But, what the fuck? I've just gone in the same spots over and over. Hold on, let me lock in. Okay. So, I'm right here. Beer garden. Okay, I need to head that way. Out, right, and then left. Out, right. The end of this, and then left. And then... That's not possible. Huh. I still feel like I hear a lantern or something. Oh. Oh. But maybe not. Maybe it's just the tractor being on that. I'm sorry. Reading that and hearing I got no idea who Kung Pao Penis is kind of funny. Image someone posted of a new way to package Oreos where it's cookie on the side and then the middle is just cream, and one guy hopefully pointed out that this wouldn't work and you would have half the cookies left with zero cream left. That's because of how. But who's dubbed the Oreos? Oh. Or whenever a meme about packaged Oreos is made, he will appear. Okay. Good. What the hell? What a legacy. Pretty funny. All the like horrible legacies people have, it seems like a good one. There's no hidden design in the potatoes. Okay, and then I ran this way. The pig was over here. Bro. Okay. Like, there has to be a way through this. Thought I had a lockpick now. Now the pig wasn't scared of me, so it didn't freak out, I guess. Back in... Oh wait, not in here. Oh yeah, that had a lantern. I got that. You just tell me to try shooting the pig? Because that is not happening. And then the one drawer was in here. Well, I guess I'll just have to run back and kill it when I'm forced. Because whenever I'm forced, because I'm not doing that right now. I need one buddy in this hell in the game. Might as well let it be the little piggy. There's nothing else over here that I missed. I got everything in that building. Now I'll go... Did I run through those? No. They just look a lot like the other gates. It forces you to kill the animals to upgrade your shit. That's so messed up. Mm-mm. And then go. Ooh, this one. I don't think I've done this one yet, or have I? I have, because the bucket's up, duh. Oopsie. My eyeball is like catching the light. Hmm. That's wild. Sounds like Dean wants his butt getting spammed with the picture of the cowboy hat. Live stream. You know, the fish, though, I know they can also feel emotions and feel pain and have social hierarchies, but I was forced to kill the fish really early in Resident Evil, so... Oh. Why do they have to make it sound like that, though? Guys, you're helping me kill zombies. Thank you so much. Oh my god. If I could kill one. Oh my god. Hold up. Let me crouch. Easy. Then the main fish will kill you. Oh god. Probably. Hank Green, when he was once on Tumblr. I was just watching Hank Green's recent video right before I went live. Well, I was like, I had it on and was listening to it while I got ready and was messing with my stuff. I also got like a longer HDMI cable along with that tripod for my Workshop Wednesday streams. Oh, I'm nice on it about his love of a particular act and it's caused Hank Green to run off Tumblr, proving why we can't have nice things. Man. I didn't know they heard me. No. Okay. Oh, this has 6 wings. So it's like that other gate that I couldn't open because it had 6 wings also. You did. You did. John Green. Ah, okay. I have like all dude's books. I read those growing up. But I like wanted to read everything growing up, so it makes sense. Actually, oh, you're good. I'm kind of scared enough right now that my spine feels like, I don't know. I feel like I just pulled taut. I don't know if I have my chair weight or what's going on, but I thought I could sit back, relax, that I could sit back, relax, and play this, and that shit is not happening. I'm stressed out. My hands are freaking sweaty. Forgot this game is... Oh, that was a face, which makes me think a jump scare is about to happen. Because they've disarmed me. Oh, should also shotgun ammo. Make sniper ammo. Put this up the rest. And then guess I have stuff to sell now. I'm loving. Oh. Ah! That should be acceptable as a bunch of adults. Fuck it. Fuck it, suck it. Who cares? Oh, great lichens, the fabled monster wolves of old. May they come to eat our flesh, may they come to tear us apart. Uh-oh. Remember, it was every time we posted, people would reply to it and change that. Yeah, and after a while, like, the bit is... I like committing to a bit. I think it's funny and, like, outplaying it. But I'll outplay it with, like, intent. Like, it does not need to be nonstop. She goes into detail. Oh. Okay, well, I'm unaware. But also, that had to be so long ago. If it's not fucked up, like, offensive to someone, and, like, I don't know. There's weirder shit that's happened within our government, so my head doesn't have much room for all of the lore. But I'll have to look into it, because I'm very intrigued now. But also, if I stop playing this right now, I'll be screwed. Wait, so bro really committed to the bit of sucking. You know what? Let me just look this up now. Now I'm curious. Read. Oh, that it was in one of his books? And then they started joking about it being something else? I don't know, I'll have to look into it later, but I got it in my tabs now. Google, yeah. Not posting either. It was people reblogging and then changing it. Same thing. Okay. See, that would start to fucking annoy me too. That's fair. And then also not fair then that other people were taking creative liberties to make it about sucking and fucking. Okay. There's nothing else in this room for sure. Just had to be extra thorough. Now. Oop, wait, did I go over here? I can't remember. Okay. Now, need to go left. They broke this thing, I think. There used to be a goat in there. The dollhouse? What the hell? I think I need to get to that church. Oh, but then there was the drawbridge. And then I killed the fish. I must need to try to shoot something from over here, or I need to go back and do something and then enemies come out to kill me, but then the bridge is down. Found you making 100% serious statement, and part of it being I'm not the type of person to register publicly. Not the smell of balls. Yeah. I feel like that conversation and that writing style is usually reserved for like talking about politics or politicians or like horrible people. I think that's when I most bring up like smegma or like balls in general. Usually I try not to like demonize or like, you know, talk too poorly about other people's junk bits and bobs, as the British say. Okay with people sucking. Personally, I don't. I'm very much paraphrasing it, but that's really funny. And does sound very much like that would be something dude would post. Coming from a complete stranger who hasn't kept up at all. Clearly with the lore. Whoa. That face structure reminds me of the lady in what is it? Penny Dreadful? That or Salem, I can't remember which. Looks really good though. It's wild. Impressive. Something wild's about to happen when I inspect that, right? Oh, so then that thing on the other statue was a crystal fragment. Oh, let me just look at the laptop first, I guess. Anything else out here I can loot? There is. I already got that. And is this unlocked? I'm gonna look at the computer first. But I saw that it has the key with the face in it. Operation date 2/9/2021. Recorded by NH 1135 or 1135. We'll say 1135. Arrived at site. No sign of EW or RW. 1210. Infiltrated village. Engaged with number of bioweapons. Found evidence of EW. RW location unknown. So would that be Rose? Would leave the top line of whatever they're reblocking, so it'd be something normal than just no. That's so fucked. 1310. Established a base in church. Plane of operations. LBTD K9. Search laboratory. NHUE. Analyze mold samples. Alpha. Infiltrate factory. Okay. Can I read any of it? No. Alright. Saving. I definitely still hear. Dang. I was like, maybe if I shoot the bell it'll ring and then I get something special. But nope. I feel like I'm hearing like a lantern still. Oh, is it just that? Yep. Alright. Going to that other gate. Like if I bought Tumblr and made it $8 a reblog, that's funny. Oh, okay. That's really funny. That's a good callback on his part. Oh, like, oh, I don't get what. I don't know if it's my chair, like the angle of my seat. When I tried to have it leaning back, hold on. About to be a little ridiculous. Yeah. Okay. Armrest being up too high. I don't know, man. That sounds no. Just norm of the North Twitter. I don't know. I might not be. Huh. I don't know if I need to shoot those lamps or what? Or lanterns or what? Chicken. Watch out! Just killed him. Okay. I don't. Locked from the other side. So I can't do shit over here, I guess? Yeah. I'm gonna Twitter for it, but like, say some intern still has the login, so we'll occasionally say some wild shit. Oh my god. And they're still on there, like, even after the acquisition. It's a lot of dedication to a bit. Run back to the altar? Or... Oh. Oh yeah, I added a new plushie to my background. I just remembered. Let me look. Oh yeah, I moved my stuff around on here too. Does it show? Oh yeah. I put, whenever I went to Wicked, I bought one of the flying monkey plushies. That's back there now. He's like hanging from the pole. If I could get it to stay without sliding down so it wouldn't look like the monkey's like stripping midstream, then it would be a little bit higher up. I'll have to move it. It made me think of my uncle, so I was like, ooh, I need to buy it. Since he can't. That's a weird way to refer to someone being dead. I thought I'd buy it since he can't, because then someone's gonna be like, why can't they get it? And you set someone up for an awkward conversation. But I was like, that's perfect. Ooh, because then like I've got a little chest of drawer things from him too behind me. Like a lot of stuff. I pulled out his graphite pencils the other day. Used to. That was cool. And the last tweet being Norm of the North is now available to officiate weddings. That's wild. I heard a creature. Or it heard me. Huh! Inside. Like I should wait until they kind of come down. I shot its foot. I missed again. Almost missed again. Oops. That's funny. Yeah, Godspeed. But, oh my god, Loki, that's a little bit annoying though too now. Like, every corporation is constantly under someone else's poster creation, like marketing themselves. By being like, on the work account, saying some random shit. Come on. die? Nope. Function for use checking out for inconvenience. Nice. Explosive rounds. Or what? It's it's got roses on it too. Use this necklace. Welcome from Malcolm. Yeah. Doesn't he have? Hold on, let me look quick. It wasn't him. It was. Hold on. Actors. I'm thinking of the middle. Atticus Schaefer. Where's he from? Atticus Schaefer. Yeah, just from the middle. I was like, oh, that dude has OI also. But I was thinking of the other show. But also has osteogenesis imperfecta. Yeah. How did you know that one fish? Oh, I've said that before online too. Like, that's literally my life. I think one of my friends in college told me that that fish was me, and then it just stuck with me for the rest of eternity, and it will till I die. I would like to get a tattoo of dude eventually too, because of my OI. And as a nod to that, like I've got my little like Harvest Moon cow and stuff too, as a nod to my childhood. Piggy. And my time in the hospital and stuff. Or my times in the hospitals. It's okay, dude. I'm not gonna kill you. I'm not an asshole. Like Tack, who would kill you. For a recipe. I got pipe bombs. Where doesn't be mine for free stuff. That'd be great. Yeah, but then like I'm the for real one. I wasn't saying like I was literally that dude, but like the real version. Like if that dude was real. Like I sound like him. Like I have glass bones and paper skin. Like that his heart attacks put him to sleep. So, all the animals for better pocket space. What the f- People complaining about a non-binary character is so fucking ridiculous and embarrassing. They should be embarrassed of themselves. Just like out there announcing that they have low mental like capabilities and fortitude, no emotional fortitude. Like the binary was only enforced so heavily when Europeans started trying to police other people's bodies. The very normal thing to not be that focused on. Are you a boy or a girl? You know. Daughter when she got one. I think most people, like, I don't know, with the policing of gender too, like, of course, plays a lot of, like, a heavy role in racism. But then also with disability, like, depending on your ability level, you are also distanced from being, like, a woman or a man. Or, like, you know, but under further scrutiny. And then also, like, you really start to see the policing of womanhood in that if, like, doctors would literally tell you, like, you're not a woman anymore if you, like, aren't being a breeder. functioning as someone to reproduce, you know, solely. Like, who cares? I don't know. I think that if I were to have a kid, I would just want them to be happy. Or to be, like, doing my best to take care of them and support them. Not taking, like, their identity as a fuck you. Unless they identified as, like, a fucking Nazi or some shit. Then we're having many a conversation. Yeah. They're not even just, like, healthy, too, though. Because you can have a kid be, like... I'm not considered, like, what people would think healthy is. Blood work-wise. Or, like, I guess my version of healthy and good and stable is very different from other people's baseline. Like, with my depression and stuff, too. Like, I don't know. I think it just doesn't... that people put too much weight on that, too. Because even then, like, you can have a kid and they aren't born healthy or whole. And, like, it's fine. As long as you're there for them, you support them. You help, like, prevent infestation of shame within them. And you don't plant at them, like, they're yourself as their parent. I think then you kind of win no matter what. Also, like, we were all kids once. Our parents probably fucked up, like, you know. Everyone kind of fucks up. But kids are really, like, open to forgiving you, too, if you just actually communicate with them and own that you're also just a person and you're doing your best and that you want to be better in the future. Like, what's a kid gonna do? Like, cries about gay people and women in media, and literally all his comments are like, that's nice, you beat your wife though, so I'm not taking your opinion. Oh yeah. Of course. That's always how it goes. You're not allowed to be disabled, or you're not allowed to be different unless I make you different. And like, what the fuck? Just weird. Strange, like, personal insecurity. And because a lot of people, especially in like the patriarchy and then in European culture are taught that the quickest way to digest and like rid yourself of shame is to hurt other people. They literally do that shit. Like, let me externalize my shame by overwhelming it with a different feeling. Hatred or anger. And even then, too, like, you're not erasing the pain. I think that, especially to like physical pain in general, feels more real and memorable than most other things. Where's the lockpick thingy? And let me have a lockpick or I'm gonna freak out. Okay, I'm done. I must need to go back to the altar now. Oh wait, I could go to that. Or not. The heck? How else can I get over there? Do the chicken stuff? No. Need to go back. And this way. To the left. Oh, sorry, bro. I was up there fucking speaking of sniffing balls. Goddamn. Ooh, maybe I should shop first. Ooh, that looks sick though.
What the hell?
Oh, good. I was just thinking of ways to pass the time. Securing goods is more important than anything. Anything, my friend.
My dog was howling. Could probably sell it. Large crystal. I feel like though, usually shouldn't I put that in stuff? Yeah. Let me...
As always, a
trade
trust.
those.
Do
and
let
then
me
click
know if you find
this.
anything else of value.
Examine. No, this is the reckless, the necklace of roses. One goat. Cute. It's so cute. It's all fucked up looking. My little twin. Damn it. All reminds me of the one in that basement. Or not in the basement, but in Resident Evil 7.
Welcome.
I still kind of feel like I should keep those now. Sell that.
You would part with this? No, I'm more than happy to purchase it.
Ooh. Wait. Is this a different pistol
Do
than
let
the
me
one I'm
know if
using
you find
right now?
anything else of value.
Oh. Should I be using that one now? Back? We found it. Fully automatic handgun or the other?
Seeking something
No.
in particular?
That makes sense. I was reading it and thinking about it in my head. I was trying to just say something right away. Don't forget to live. Oh yeah. It's a good reminder. Good tattoo. Just feels like I should have used the other handgun for like forever. So far I don't really buy
Thank
that.
you for your purchase.
And then none of that really like is anything that stands out to me right
Food is
now.
life.
Can't tell. So after 2 would be 170. What's my pistol at?
Good day then.
Examine. Ooh. I feel like the new handgun is probably what I should use, huh? So then get the power,
Ah, it's fine. All finished.
ammo capacity. That.
Delighted to.
Yeah, going connect in the middle saying don't forget to live. That'd be really cool. Sounds really sick. I like symmetrical, like themed shit on the body too. I'll just upload this. Which would not be noticeable from my tattoos. Well, other
Have a
than my chest
wonderful
one, that one's
adventure.
symmetrical, but it kind of like needs to be. Oh, I should have switched my gun first. This, do X to move. Oh no, I add shortcut. Shortcut it to. Thing important tattoo. That'd be funny. Got a lot of skin too. could always get all of it eventually. Just pricey. Did I add anything to this? Huh. Where should I store that? Is there like a... What's this over here? Send to inventory. Oh. Maybe I'll just keep it on me for now. Okay. What? I guess I just try different doors. Or winged being. Try this door? Nope. So I probably need to go find the other things first, I guess. Like going here. Which would be through the gates, though. Where the hell? How do I get to there, then? Oh, over here. Okay. Let me... This way. I can't remember if this one's unlocked now or not. Locked, okay. Do I have a lockpick now? I can't. No, okay. Which way? Which way? Way? Yeah. Saw Young Blood live. Holy. Was it fun? I don't know that I know much about them. I'm really bad with names, though. That's also why my name is Sadie, and my name is Sadie. So, which is definitely not something I should be saying. But oh well. I think it's pretty obvious. Came across at one point in time. Wasn't Ozzy Osbourne, though, a fucking piece of shit? Like, musically, different. You know, whatever. But as a person, wasn't stuff kind of... Main thing is love and compassion makes his concerts amazing. Oh, okay, cool. That's always nice. Was it a good show? Too? Like fun? Oh yeah, you said great time. You see that now. Just try it. Burn with drugs. Well, yeah. No. It's just sleeping, guys. Just kidding. That's just dead as hell. A good dude throughout his entire life. There was a patch where he wasn't amazing, but he did spend his time trying to fix it. If I come out of this, I feel like I could go through here. It's like, this is still very maze-like. The mansion was not the end of that. For sure. Ugh, my spine. Oh, shit. So, you really have to zoom in to be able to see the detail, like the item markers too, so. Go. I need to get to here. I need to go left of there. Oh, is this one I crawled under? No, that was the tractor that I did that to. I can't jump over. I can't jump over that. Do I, like, jump out of a window? Okay, it was here that I crawled under. 14-year-old kid to come up and play the guitar off it. That's cool. Oh, Jesus. Did he stomp on that cigarette? That's what the hell. You can go this way. Oh, Jesus. And then... I looted all that. I need to go up and then jump off of it. I got you. Hey, buddy. Oh, I guess it's good that I shoot back when I did. Oh yeah, because now I can walk across the roof. And then do it. I mean, I guess I haven't been in the house. Oh god. Or did I just waste my new vantage point? I looted in there. And I must have gotten distracted and ran out. There's another one. February 1st. Sacrificed 2 goats to Mother Miranda. February 3rd. Offered wool to Mother Miranda. She instructed I find her a list of drugs and tools in the next few days. What for, I wonder? February 8th. No messages from Mother Miranda, yet the livestock won't stop their ruckus. February 9th. I was instructed to take the items. Move this down. To take the items to the cave church at sunrise, but what I saw was frightful. The great 4 lords were there, and Mother Miranda was holding a child. She whispered something and touched the child. I can't explain it well, but the child turned into a white crystal. Then I couldn't help but speak up, and I asked her why she did such a thing. Mother Miranda just smiled at me. This is the chosen child. She will return to her original form no matter what befalls her. Then she gave each lord a part of the crystal in a flask, and they left. Oh, so why I have her head or whatever. I forgot to bow to Mother Miranda before I fled. I'm still shaking. What did she do? What is that child? I can combine keys. The winged key is just a single piece. 3 more parts are needed to make it whole. Okay. Oh yeah, because I can then like combine to the winged key. Ooh.
Damn it. Better see the Duke again.
Close with Ozzy, so when the crowd started changing Ozzy, he looked like he was one step away from breaking down in tears. Oh yeah. Music really like connects a lot of people that deeply. So I can't imagine. Why do those look so high def? Half whole flower. Okay. The chicken scared me. Did I find a new lockpick? No. Use it this way. Gotcha. Thought I heard my dog make a weird noise. I like concerts, but I haven't really been able to go for a while. It's hard because with me, like, when I go out, I look like, I don't know. Unless something is actively really messing with me, I don't always, like, have a limp or anything like that noticeable. So then, like, it's hard to find seating, and I don't have, like, a wheelchair or something to take with me. Then I can't really be like, oh, trust, I look like I'm fine, but I have brittle bones. Can I sit? Usually, like, the seats get kind of, flamed. So I like ones that have seating. But then I know in the past I've waited to try to get tickets to different concerts. Like, I wanted to go to Chapel Roan and stuff. But they always say that the ADA, like on Ticketmaster and stuff, which they've used, like, they always say that ADA accessible, like, extra seating and stuff, like, tickets are going to be available later. And then in that case, like, and honestly, a lot of the time it seems like they never end up going live, I don't know if they exist or not. But that makes it a little more tough. Okay. Went the wrong way. Where's he at again? Got a little turned around. Up here. Know what I did. Dude. Now it's harder too because I got the dogs. Ow. There. My chair was like leaned forward. That's why my spine was hurting, so I was having to like completely hold myself straight by that alone. Ugh.
How was it? Did you learn anything?
I found these feathers. Now tell me how to fix this like you said you would.
Settle down. First, you must use that key and collect all of your little roses flasks.
Where are the rest of them?
There are 4 in total. You have the one, and the other lords have the rest.
Lords?
Dude, I read that.
Mother Miranda is the cold, calculating ruler of this village. 4 lords serve under her. The first you've already met, the Lady Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu.
The second lives deep in a valley of mist, the doll-maker, Donna Beneviento. None of her playmates have ever come back from that dank old estate. The third is Moreau, a being of twisted flesh that lives in the reservoir past the windmills. It is said that he is not the only monster that lives in those waters. The fourth and most dangerous is Heisenberg. He works in his factory on the village outskirts. And the project. Let's just say parts of the human imagination are better left alone.
Ooh. He's doing like fucked up scientific experiments on people and medical shit. Which makes sense with the Umbrella Corporation.
If you truly wish to save your daughter, you must first gather the 4 flasks. I'll do you a personal favor. I've marked the Lord's locations on your map. Some treasures still lurk in this village. I'm sure each one will prove of great use to you.
Why are you doing all this?
Why, it's all part of our first-class customer service. Please do come again soon.
Okay. I can't combine anything with that.
You wish to make a purchase?
What
Ah,
do you need to
yes,
buy?
I have you. Find some quality
New
ingredients
cooking.
and bring them to me.
Dang. They really forced it. Well, shit. Anything I could put on the new handgun?
Pay me no mind. Leave this to me.
And then keep the other shit for now, I guess. Might as well. Can't do
Till
anything with
next
it.
we meet.
Okay, I need to pee really bad. And I have for a minute, and I'm struggling. So I'm gonna go use the restroom really quick. I'm gonna put music on though while I'm gone. Let's see. And I will be right back. I'll be hurrying. Okay. I got a be right back screen, so I'm gonna use that. Sorry, I just have to be so bad. Oh, thanks for the follow, 11th. I'll be right back. Okay. And also fix my chair off camera too quick. There's something I had to have been like I'm sitting weird because my back is killing me, and it's my lower back, which I have a bridging in my spine, but it's in my upper back. It's my lower. It means I'm sitting weird or something. Damn. It only took me 3 minutes. Not bad. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna put my chapstick on too, and I'm stretching quick. Ow. Off camera. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yep, they do. Okay. Okay. I think I got my chair situated better. Hopefully. Oh, it's fine. Otherwise, if my back doesn't start feeling better soon. Sorry. I'm really trying to, like, I don't know, realign my lower spine. Something. Owie. Ouch. All right. Okay. Yeah, go back to my other screen. And get back to it. Oh my god. Hopefully my back will feel better now, because Jesus. My back was freaking sore. Alright, here we go. This too. Really, like, I reached out to an artist about getting, like, I wanted to go with local art, just show support, and, like, someone with similar ethics to me. So I reached out to them about maybe getting a Be Right Back screen, and then some shit like that from different screens. So, like, my stream ended, and, like, starting soon and stuff. Oh. I just burped and felt like my drink was gonna come out of my nose. Ouchie. But I haven't heard back yet. So I would prefer that over, like, the pixel stuff that's, you know, not original to here. It'd be cute and fun. I think maybe I should go this way first, though. Turn my fan off. Hold. I'll just have this fan on and pointed that. Okay, so I can't mock that one. four-winged being, but isn't that the key that I have? Oh no, there's a being in it. Makes it different. Yeah, there's not a being in the middle. It's just four wings, right? Yep. Okay. Wait, where's my Kirby? Dude, actually, that's kind of too big. I just need something to, like, rest my hands on. But oh well. Guess that's what a desk is for, huh? I'm scared. Kinda creepy. Ooh. I put a piece of hair in my ear with my IM when I put it back in. Oh. Right. They're dolls. Can I have your head to put on my other doll? Oh, it got even quieter, which makes me feel like someone's about to jump on me. Or is it the lady? They called her like an old, like, I think they called her an old hag, didn't they? Or something like that? Because I remember I said, like, damn. But... I feel like there's gonna be... Yes. Okay, and it's not a real goat. So I won't feel bad. It's like, what if it's a trick? And it's really a real goat, and then I kill it and feel like a monster. Oh, also, ooh, won't feel like I need to... Damn it. Just kidding. There. I don't feel like I have to, like...
Ethan.
What?
Oh, it doesn't let you shoot her.
Ethan, come with
I
me.
just wondered.
There's something I have to tell you.
Mia? What's going on?
Rose feels different. Ethan, you have to fix her.
Am I gonna grab her and
What
then
the
she's
hell
gonna,
is
like, fall
this?
apart or be, like, missing all their limbs or something?
Everyone leaves me. Even Rose. I don't want to be alone.
This can't be real.
So I must come back to that gate. Whoa. Oh, so I must be nearing the dollhouse. I just remembered you set that tag.
Am I losing it?
I like that the leaves and stuff flaking off this tree or the bark resembles like feathers. Something. Beneviento. 1987 and 1996. Oh shit. I'm them reincarnated. Oh. Give up your memories. I'm a genius. I'm kind of
What's
pretty
going
freaking
on?
smart. I feel so much better being scared, but also not having to pee really bad. I really gotta not just force myself to hold it for no reason so long. Well, not no reason. I feel like we were having good conversation. It was fun. Even though I feel like I didn't really contribute much to it. It was nice. Come with me, Ethan. Oop. Is there any, like... Dang it, I can't go back down, so I don't know if I missed something. Beer hunting? Beer now, meow, 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 meow. Game is really fucking pretty. God damn. Oh, hello. What's up, always Ange? What are you up to? I'm playing a scary game. So, punch your asshole. This one's Resident Evil Village. It's the same franchise that I had started playing through for a while, but then I kind of took a break from playing the games because I got distracted with, like, ready to die in bed. Jesus Christ. Well, hopefully you sleep good. Sleep well. Apples. Yeah. I was playing them before I started playing, like, Lego Batman came out, the new one of that, and I needed to finish that and play that right away. And then some, like, other more, like, cozy games came out, and I started playing Stardew again, and No Man's Sky. I kinda started finishing some games again and flooded myself with replacements. So, wanted to try to get a lot of this game out of the way today. Or not out of the way, but, you know, get through a lot of it. Really good so far. All the quiet and then jump scares have been really getting me. So... That door was locked, so I need to go up. Right? Or was this the locked one? And it's like a lot of figuring out puzzles and stuff. Someone who watches stream has asked about, and I plan to play the, like a dragon and stuff. Oh, that's fine. No need to, like, try to push to watch stream, too, if it's struggling. Thanks for stopping in and saying something. And saying hey. Guess that does nothing for me. Yeah. Oh my god, I can't believe I couldn't remember the name of the game. I think this is the first time I've ever forgotten the name of the series. Yakuza. Yakuza series. I need to play that. But I also really want to play Blueprints because I haven't played that yet, and it's very puzzly, and it feels like it would be like the puzzle aspect of this game, but more, of course. I really gotta like plan out how I'm gonna play through games on stream. Because there's so many I want to play through. And then I started Solar Punk and stuff, and that's been really chill. Honestly, I think I might end stream today playing some Solar Punk just as a chaser, because this game has been intense today. I'm scared. There's gonna be a shooting range down here. I haven't checked my phone in a while too. Oh crap, I missed a message from a friend, but that's an audio clip. I can't really respond right now, and I don't know what they said, so I will need to respond to that after streamy poo. When I get to a good breaking point. This your cat? No, it was the door. Although I guess if there was a cat in here, they'd probably get messed up too, so probably best there's not one. Alkaloids of mountainous plants. Hmm. I just heard a sound in real life that scared me, and I'm pretty sure... Arwen, no. That's my dog with her cone. Thinking about trying to jump over the tub I put in front of my door. Because it gets really freaking hot in here with both the dogs and me and the PC going and the lights and the camera. Etc, etc, etc. And my electric bill last month was... Team, we want to know my electric bill. Let me freak out about my electric bill quickly. Please and thank you so much. Let us see. Arwen, no. Just trying to climb over it. Oh my god. Okay, well, it's not that important for me to get the specific number. Of course, I have authentication on. It was $341.13 because it's been hot as fuck and humid as fuck. And because I've been streaming, I have to run my AC to be able to have shit actually work. Easy pay? No. Because it's been so different all the time. Don't... Hold on, let me look. I think it's just because it's been so variable. Maybe after this year, since now I'm streaming, then it would be the same, and I could handle it better throughout the month. It just sucks. Like, everything's getting so expensive now. Utility bill-wise, too. And, like, normally, I'm a very cold person. I'm really bad. Like, anyone who's been in my stream multiple times probably notices that I'm really bad at... Yeah, I need to do that. I'm really bad at regulating... Like, my body struggles to regulate its own temperature and itself. So, like, I'm always needing the fan on and then needing it off and then back on again, etc. Nope. I can't close my eyes. I was shooting. I'm streaming.
I'd make a much better daughter than
I'm gaming by
Rose.
myself. I'm like,
Please, won't you stay with me forever?
What?
and it's just gonna happen to you when you fall
Wait,
asleep.
where's my gun?
Oh my god, now. Motherfucking. I'm in the Toy Story doll maker house. Okay, this is the dollhouse then. Jack, are you chill with watching me play a... Or, chat, is anyone opposed to me playing a survival farming game? Taking a break from this. Because I feel very stressed out by it right now. Or, should I push through? One's in chat if I push through, two's in chat if it's okay if I don't. And I play something else for a little bit. Honestly though, I feel like I've barely made it very far. I struggle like with getting around the map. And what sucks? Oh, the cost. Yeah, that shit sucked ass. And then like, of course, home insurance has gone up ridiculous. Taxes have gone up ridiculous on property. Like, every cost has gone up in a way that like pay doesn't go up. And that shit sucks. Like, I can't keep up. Oh my god, and then I called and talked to my student loan people. They're like the company that controls my student loans. And because I was denied disability benefits by the state, it might impact my ability to then have my pay reduced for my monthly student loan payments. Because right now, for my repayment plan, they are offering me a reduced payment of $400 a month. I am permanently disabled and unemployed. I have no income. So they were just saying that based off of no income, but because the state denied me, so I need to get a hold of free legal aid support again. And I also need to fill out some paperwork and see if
Is
they'll
this
just accept it. Because
doll
it's fucking
Mia?
ridiculous that I'm medically permanently disabled for sure. Because a government body doesn't want me to be. Like, I'm basically fucking damned. Like, that sucks. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna play my survival little farming game. Let me see. I don't know if you guys want to check it out. You go to game only for a second. Get rid of this. With delete, which is different. Exit game. Hopefully, if my PC will let me. Oh, it's not responding. Okay. Let's see. That shit was stressing me out. Oh yeah, I just had talked about how I finished Lost and Found Co. too, which is a very cute game. Let me actually go back to gaming and then I'll do game capture, but I'll set it to Steam maybe. If it'll let me. I guess never mind. We do this one. Steam. Okay, here. So, they came out with the summer update right after I finished it. And it's basically like this giant like Where's Waldo, I Spy kind of game. It's really chill. It's so cute. Like everything you click on has its own little animation and sound effect. It's very cute. But I had to reinstall that today because the summer update came out. Has 2 new adventures and new items, but the adventures, like the levels, are what I need to do. But yeah. That game capture. on, and I will play. I want Solarpunk or Stardew Valley. Tough decision there. Solarpunk because it's new. Well, like more recent, you know, to me, so I have more I can do in it right now. I played 14 hours of it, so yeah, relatively no. Oh, I need to change my stream info then too. People are gonna come thinking they're seeing scary stuff, and it's gonna be me farming away. But I did unlock some new islands, which are really exciting. I can go find sheep now. I'm moving on up. I'm excited for that, for me personally. And a dashboard. I'm not manager. There we go. And do Solarpunk. There we go. Nope. All right. Now we can be at peace. Something about this after the update. I feel like my... What is weird with this? Video? We have 1440. Ooh. That's better, I guess. Okay. This I was playing with mouse too. Honestly, a lot of my motivation is that my freaking spine hurts, dude. Here's Solarpunk. Okay, wait a minute. This is huge. Okay, that's teeny though. Man, they handle this shit weird for this game. But just a little bit. Also, I feel like I'd be like freaking. Here we go. Yeah, I gotta fix that. That looks wild. Video. No, that is a square. My dumbass. There we go. That's what I had it at before. 1920 by 1080. Oh. No, but I just remembered the like glass bones and paper skin and stuff. And I was thinking about it too, and I had mentioned to my therapist recently that it just sucks like talking about disability stuff as myself sometimes. Because like when you're so like medically complex, it does, or just complex as a person, it starts to feel like you're like a state senator's, like a Republican conservative state senator's like roll account where they go in the comments and they're like, I'm a disabled queer person with all these disabilities. I know what I'm talking about. It's kind of like, okay, I feel like when it gets to a certain point and I feel like so much is going on with me, I start to feel like I always sound like I'm a troll and I'm lying. And it's a very awkward thing to navigate. Like having to kind of learn how to make your reality more palatable for people. Because I know with talking about disability stuff in general too, like a lot of people hear it and think that it's like trying to world smallest violin, but like nope, it's just reality, and it's fine and it doesn't have to be weird. You know? Have I appealed? No, I was just saying I need to do that. It's rough because right now with the US, with this admin, pushing toward, the dogs are in my room so I can scoot my chair, pushing for institutionalization of people who are disabled, especially permanently disabled people, especially people with history of permanent genetic disability. It's a very like scary time to do that in general, and especially if you've been vocal. Like I've been very vocal about my beliefs for my entire life. Well, like, you know, since I could be, when it comes to my ethics and politics and stuff like that. And the background checks they're starting to use with AI is very scary for approvals, because they do those background checks for disabled people. Like they do more thorough background checks for disabled people getting their benefits, which they legally deserve and like morally deserve, than they do for people trying to be like police officers. So it's just a scary time to be appealing. But I've been waiting to hear from, and then I need to get a hold of again, free legal aid for people who are like not financially able to have their own legal aid or like find it themselves. You hear if it's best for me to try to relocate statewise and then apply again, or if it's safe enough for me to appeal it. Not gonna get anything then, yeah. Exactly. So I need to do that. But it's just really weighing the risk of like, is it safe to stay in the US? Is it like best to move to a blue state first? Like how, you know, how could I logistically make that happen? What kind of supports are there for people in that situation? All that. So yeah. I'll figure it out though. It'll be fine. It'll be fine or it won't be, but it'll happen. I'm doing my best. I changed my field of view, and I think I did like it at 110. Here we go. So here are my animals. My children, if you will. Food. Food. This. I just got pigs. They make or find truffles. Get those. Their baby grew up. Cute. Where's my chest at? Oh yeah. Put that away. Eat this. Litter. Them up. Which the game named. Swoop. The game named all these. What game now? Wi-Fi keeps freezing up, so I'm missing some detail. Oh, this one is Solar Punk. It's like Stardew Valley and stuff, where you like unlock new recipes, you farm, you get new equipment to then like keep exploring further and further. You have like little too thirsty to sprint. You have little electrical currents and stuff and wiring that you figure out. You have to fuel all of your devices. So I just got windmills, and then you like smelt different ore, all sorts of shit. It's very cute, very chill. But there is not like a ton going on, so if you need something that has some action too, it really is just like if you like crafting, building, and it like those kind of like chill farming sim kind of things. It's good. It has even less action. It's like Stardew that has the mines and stuff. This is really just exploring these floating islands. Here, let me go to the edge of it and I'll show you. You might miss details still, and that's fine. But You're on these floating islands, which keeps reminding me of Xenoblade. One of my favorite games I've ever played. I forgot about when I was asked about good games. Is Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one specifically. The definitive edition. I played that on Switch, the Nintendo Switch. So fucking good. But you're like in that game, you're on these like giant creatures. You're kind of floating in the sky basically. Each one has its own like world going on it. And that's what this reminds me of. But holy shit, the Xenoblade Chronicle games are so long. If you're completionist like me, like that first one, I think I spent like 180 hours on it. Like I finished every side quest and like I wanted to complete everything on it. Then I tried, I think, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because then I was going to play Torna, and then 3, I think is the order. But I feel like I just didn't get into it as much, so now I'm playing... What's the most recent one that was added to Switch? That was old. They they updated it. Let me look. Xenoblade Chronicles. I think it's X. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X. I'm playing that. I'm not very far in it. And I stopped playing it whenever I started playing Resident Evil because I try not to play too many like heavy story games at one time because I get them confused. My memory sucks ass. So yeah. This is my little farmy poo. And now I need to go look for sheep. I have one animal transport thing I could take with me. Also... I feel like my shit's very bright right now. Maybe... this... Then... Give it more warm toned? I don't know. That should be fine. Dude. Bam. You know what? I'm about to save this for next stream. I'm sorry. My back hurts so freaking bad right now. Like, I can't. I've adjusted my chair so many times and I can't get it to feel like not horrible. So I just gotta be done and listen to my body, even though I don't want to. As you could tell. Or hopefully. Yeah, it's been a good stream. Thanks for everybody who's hung out because, oh my god. That game is scary. Resident Evil games are scary, but like so far, especially this game, has been so pretty that it's fine. Like it's worth it for sure. But I definitely need to go get some sleep. My shit hurts. So, good night. Thank you for hanging out. And hopefully see you guys tomorrow. I'll definitely be live. And I will be live earlier. Sushi. So, good night. Thanks for spending your evening with me.